a group of guys to like trust each other and to say, hey, look, we're not trying to destroy this band by trying new things. We're trying to reach a new audience, or we're trying to grow as musicians and as people. And, eventually I got on board with that, and I saw the bigger picture, and it takes the whole band to support each other to make something like this work.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in Dave of Dog Eat Dog. How are you doing, man?
Doing very well. Thank you for having me and talking about the new record.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about Free Radicals and just in general Dog Eat Dog business. It is so good to see you after so many years. I have seen you live many times. I don't believe we've ever actually met in person. I know I met a few other people from the band, like Dan in the past when he was in, and so stoked. This album is so killer and so fun, and I think it's kind of like what we need right now, like the antidote to so much seriousness is we need that penchant Dog Eat Dog sense of humor back in our lives.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right on. And you just got back from a tour of Europe. I know the band does very well over there. I love seeing the YouTube videos of you guys. I remember seeing Doggy Dog for the first time in a little club I probably wasn't old enough to technically be in, but I used to get into shows. I looked older as a teenager. Now I look definitely my age. But yeah, man, to see you guys play in front of thousands of people, singing along, screaming along, jumping, touching high to the sky, you know what I'm saying? I love it so much.
Yeah, we're very blessed. Such a long career at this point. I mean, none of us expected this to go on for 33 years. So we're more grateful now than we've ever been, because we just feel blessed that we were given so many opportunities to keep going over the years, where so many bands would have, certainly imploded and given up. We really toughed it out through all the hard times and kind of bonded together as a unit to get past it and solve our problems and keep going. And just that we survived is one thing, but to survive and make a new record is, like, to us, almost a miracle. So we're on a kind of a high right now, because we got this record done. It took 5 years from the first notes recorded till now that it's coming out. And we had the COVID shutdown in the middle of it, so that didn't help things, having almost a 2-year shutdown in the middle of a record half recorded. But we got it back together, went back to Europe, and got this thing done.
Right on. Sorry about some technical stuff back here. The perseverance to keep it going. The music industry has always been tough, but never tougher than right now, where artists are not, luckily you had a huge hit record on a pretty strong label in the 1990s when records actually physically sold. And of course, everybody knows Roadrunner and all those associated labels were famous and infamous for pushing new versions of those records and deluxe editions and other things. But now we have vinyl and now we have all these things, but it is a tough time. So I do appreciate the perseverance you all have, and families and jobs and things in some cases, to be able to do this. So, it's, you say miracle, but I also attribute that strength to you all.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, now young bands say to me, like, what's your advice? How can, what can we do? And I'm like, it's a totally different world now than it was when Dog Eat Dog started. There was no internet. People actually left their houses to go to shows and went to the store to buy a record. There was no streaming or anything like that. It was a totally different world. Now, the world of bands is so huge and so ultra competitive, and everybody's fighting for somebody's ear to listen to them, and the ocean has just gotten so big that even a band like Dog Eat Dog with decades under its belt is in a way starting over and fighting with everybody else for listeners. We have a little advantage because yes, we had name recognition, but that only goes so far. So it's definitely something you have to rely on your live show, which is something we have got because we've played thousands of shows in our career, and we've learned how to get an audience excited, and we give 110% every show. And making a good record, and we didn't want to put out a crappy record. We wanted to put out a great record, and if that took 5 years to make it right, that's what we were going to do. And the fact that it was 17 years since our last full-length album, that's an extremely long period of time to not put out a new record. But again, we didn't feel the time was right. And when we got a new guitar player, Roger, in the band, and he was such a good musician and good writer. And, you know, now we had a new like energy in the band. Like, hey, we could write another record. So we made an EP called Brand New Breed, and it was 4 songs, and it went extremely smooth making those songs. So we thought, okay, we did it. We got a great writing partner now in the band. Let's go for a full album. And, you know, that's how it started. If that EP was a nightmare, I don't know if the record would have happened. But luckily, you know, we found working with Roger as a new writing partner was very smooth and very good. And I'm really happy to have him in the band now.
Amazing. Big ups to Roger. And I have heard from some veteran bands, in order to come back and make a new record, you have to have things kind of aligned. So there's that mutual respect and that still energized to do it, not just go out and play the hits, which everyone can do, but to make new music. And Free Radicals, I will say, just in a nutshell, it sounds like it's supposed to sound. It sounds like the Doggy Dog record that I wanted to hear, and just could then the lineage continues. So it's such a great job, and I'm really thrilled. I want people to hear this thing.
Thank you. It really means a lot to say that, because, you know, during the making of the record, there were a few songs where it was like, yeah, this is like kind of traditional Doggy Dog, but then there were some songs where, you know, I kept thinking like, I don't know how these songs are going to be perceived, because they're, you know, a little different than what we've done in the past. And our singer John been pushing harder to try new things, and I'm more of like, hey, I don't like change. I like to stay, you know, how it's supposed to be. And, you know, eventually, you know, I just kind of said, well, let's just see how it goes. And then in the recording process and then the mixing process, the songs kind of grow and they become songs. When you're actually like in a rehearsal studio writing them, you don't see the actual full picture yet. You hear what you hear. And you know, it took a little while for me to warm up to some of the other ideas, but now that they're done and mixed and the record's done, some of those are my favorite songs on the record. So it's a lesson for a group of guys to like trust each other and to say, hey, look, we're not trying to destroy this band by trying new things. We're trying to reach a new audience, or we're trying to grow as musicians and as people. And, you know, eventually I got on board with that, and I saw the bigger picture, and you know, it takes the whole band to support each other to make something like this work.
Right on. John is terrific, and I don't know what he's eating or drinking, but he's got some kind of fountain of youth of energy. I see the videos, I hear this record. He sounds vital as ever, which is tremendous, man. Like, I don't know what the guy's doing. I gotta get some advice from him.
He's doing yoga, and he's out in nature, and he finds his inner peace somehow, and you know, turns that into his lyrics. So, you know, on albums in the past, I have kind of said, hey, John, I don't really like this. You know, can we try this? Can we do that? But on this record, I honestly, in almost no time did I ask him to change anything. I actually loved what he did from the beginning. So that was a good indication that we were on the right track.
Word, and he has always been a PMA guy, and I am attracted to PMA people. That's what I love about hardcore in the first place. Is, you know, as much as it was a reflection of reality, there was also this incredible movement of positivity and uplifting everybody and looking out for your fellow person. And I still respect and love that, and it's been a part of my life, actually. I was really a thrash metal kid at the hardcore shows. I was terrified, actually. My friends were like, don't let anybody see that Metallica shirt. Don't let anyone see that long hair. And then like 2 years later, it was cool. Everybody was cool. Cro-Mags were playing with Anthrax and Exodus, and everybody was, you know, buddies. But it was scary for the first little while when I first went to my first matinee.
I'm like you. I was a thrash metal kid, and then when I heard SOD, Speak English or Die, that was my like crossover record to be like, wait a minute, you know, hardcore, and I like as much as I like thrash, and I started getting into DRI and Crumbsuckers, and, you know, kind of worked my way a little backwards into like hardcore and punk, and realized, you know what, they're just two sides of the same coin, really, you know. And in New York, you know, you would see bills at Lemoore or Irving Plaza or whatever, where they were mixing the old Ritz, you know, they were mixing a lot of hardcore and thrash shows. So they were getting, you know, Bad Brains with Megadeth, you know, or whatever it may be. And it was working. And that's what I love about like around 86, 87, it was like all of those lines got blurred and mixed up. And, you know, it just was all good at that time. Those are my favorite years. Probably 85 to 87 were just incredible years for music.
The golden years. And just as a side note, I mentioned I was in Chicago for Riot Fest, and I got to see Mr. Bungle play their own version of Speak English or Die, Speak Spanish or Die. And of course, Scott Ian and Dave Lombardo are in the current era of Bungle, which is like very hardcore crossover thrash inspired. So just good stuff. Let's talk about Free Radicals. First of all, the name is amazing, has so many connotations. I'm sure you meant all of them, and the everything down to the artwork and the logo is just, again, it just pops with the vibrancy of the band that I love.
Nice. Yeah, that was, Free Radicals was John's title. We all made a giant list of like album titles, and, so many of them were immediately rejected. And then there was a kind of a shorter list, and John was like, really wanted Free Radicals, and he convinced me, and I was like, okay, let's do it. I like it. I understand your point of view. He's like, it's not supposed to be a medical term. It's supposed to be like, it's got multiple meanings, like you said. And that's what sold me. I was like, okay, as long as you're not doing it as like the medical term. So then it was like, okay, let's do this album cover. And I had found the artist, Marcos Cabrera from Barcelona, and we were in Greece actually doing a show, and he was there, and he said, hey, look at this flyer for this show. I designed it, and I saw it, and I said, this flyer is absolutely incredible. You're exactly the guy I want. When we do a new album, I'm calling you. And that was years ago. That was prior to us even making starting the record yet, but I knew this was the right guy. So I showed the guys all his like Instagram page and his art, and everybody was like, yeah, this guy's really cool. He's got that skateboard art, kind of style, but he's got, he's got a lot of variety to what he does. So we can work with him. And then I was like the contact with the artist, and then John would send me all his ideas, and then I would filter them to the artist. And to be honest with you, it took 6 months to do the cover, because we didn't really know what we wanted at first. So it was kind of like, well, here's our idea, but the artist didn't really understand what our idea was. And each version he did that was wrong, let's say, we would counter him with, well, let's try this. And then back and forth for 6 months. All of a sudden, finally this shape formed of this body and these things coming out of the body. And it was like, now we got somewhere. But it was not an easy process. And I learned now, like, don't ever go to an artist with nothing and say, hey, I don't know what I want. Make me an album cover. That's just stupid. You got to have some idea of what you want, because we learned, when you do that, it just confuses the artist. And once we started, taking place, then I was like, oh, by the way, can you do the back cover too? It's like the reverse side of the front cover, so it's like, after all that, now I got to do a second album cover. So it all worked out in the long run, but we learned a lot of lessons, but it all worked out, and that's the important thing. We got the album cover we wanted.
No worries, it's killer. We're gonna link the artist in the description, like everything else, where to find the band and buy the album and stuff. But we're gonna link his work also, because I love supporting underground artists, and hopefully more people work with him after they see this killer cover.
Yeah. He's awesome.
Awesome stuff. Good stuff. Let's go into the track by track a little bit, and just I'll shout out the track names, and you can riff on whatever you want. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And it's a long boy. This album's got a lot of tracks, but it doesn't feel too long, which is what I actually really dig. The first track, it kicks off with Lit Up.
Yeah, Lit Up was, let's say, one of the earlier songs that we had. We had started recording that one before the pandemic, so it kind of came together pretty quick, and I feel like that song really represents what I'll call like the new Doggy Dog. Like, it's got old style, but it's something fresh. And we decided, let's not force the saxophone, let's just kind of make a rock song, and we added a little keyboards to it, and we kept it. But that song I really I'm proud of, and that's why it's the #1 song on the record. That's the first impression I want to give people of this new record, something strong, something punchy. And we got a cool video for it that's on YouTube, and I actually directed the video last minute. We only came up with the concept 48 hours before we shot it, and they just kind of threw me into the director's chair. So I ran around for 6 hours, sweating my ass off with these wrestlers, and we made a cool, fun little video for it. It was going to be a lyric video, so anything was going to be better than a lyric video, and I think it turned out pretty good.
There you go. And it's a killer song to lead off the record. Kin is the next track.
Kin is a weird track where it's almost like two songs in one. It just kind of starts off, and then halfway through it becomes this kind of soulful piece of music that is actually one of my, that second half where it goes into the harmony vocals and everything. It's almost like a Beach Boys vocal, is actually one of my favorite parts on the record. So that song's not really like a hit song, but I just wanted to, I felt like it also had a great vibe, and you know, these are the songs we wanted to kind of like give the first impression on.
Word up. Good stuff. Never Give In is the third song on the album.
Never Give In is definitely the throwback to the old style Dog Eat Dog. That's got the saxophone, that's got the group vocals, that's got the kind of rebel yell that we were known for on all Boro Kings and Play Games. So that song was really important to me. I kind of, you know, started that one off with the riffs and kind of said to everybody, this is going to be our old school song. Let's just keep one for the fans. And Never Give In is kind of like the gift to the old school fans.
It surely is. It's perfect. I love it. But also the new stuff. Time Won't Wait is the next track. And speaking of new.
Yeah, Time Won't Wait is just a kind of fast rock and roll track. It's not really punk rock. It's not really metal. It's just kind of, and yeah. I don't have much to say except that was that musically was written by Roger, and you know, that was one of his first contributions. We've been playing that song a while ago. We've had that song going for probably about 6 years now, so it's not one of the newer ones, but I don't consider it filler. I just consider it a good burst of energy.
One Thing is the next track.
One Thing is one of the oddball tracks. So that one actually went through a lot of different versions before appearing the way it does. It started out as a reggae song, and then John was very adamant about it not being a reggae song, and he wanted to try something different. So that's the one song that was actually produced by somebody else, not Matt, our producer. We went back to the guy who produced one of our old records, Amped, and we gave him that song and said, hey, you do what you want with it. And he worked with John, and I'm happy with the way it came out. I don't know if it was how we all envisioned it would finally. I kind of love the reggae version of it, but I love the message of the song, and that's really the most important thing. It doesn't matter what format it's laid out in. The lyrics and the message are the most important part of that song, and I believe it comes across in the version that's on the record.
My promo is a little wonky here. Is it Mean Streets is the next song?
Mean Street.
Oh, like the movie.
And Mean Street is like kind of like our dark film noir. That's how I see it, as kind of like shadows and what's around the corner. And what I love about it is one of Dog Eat Dog's biggest influences, the band Urban Dance Squad from Holland. And in 1989, when we were in Europe and their album Mental Floss for the Globe came out, we brought it back to the US with us almost a year before it hit here. And we were playing it for everybody and saying, how, listen to this. This is what Dog Eat Dog, we weren't even Dog Eat Dog yet. We were still in Mucky Pup. But we knew that's the sound, that organic, real band playing a hip hop feel, but with real instruments. And that was one of the basis of the original plan for Dog Eat Dog sound. And the guest vocal on Mean Street is Rude Boy from Urban Dance Squad. So that was super important to us to kind of pay homage to one of our big influences, and having him on that track I love the track as it is, but his voice on it just makes it killer. And it's one of my favorite songs on the record now.
For sure. It's a band that doesn't get enough credit, especially when talking about the blending of styles seamlessly and things like that. Yeah, I remember those times. Those good times in the where things were less divided, when we could all just enjoy music and not be like, I'm a not fan of that. So, anywho, good times. Good stuff. Energy Rock is next.
Energy Rock was one of, a few of the kind of what I call like hardcore songs that I presented to the band. I had been in a studio working on my own on riffs, and I had gotten into like a little more thrashy hardcore phase, and that I played them everything, and they picked the music for Energy Rock, even though I didn't really think that was one they would ever pick. And then, John wrote the lyrics, and yeah, that was it. And it's just another burst of energy. We just want to be able to have a variety of sounds on this record. And for every 3 or 4 mid-paced tempo songs, we want to have like one that brings everybody back up. So Energy Rock works both as a record track and a live track whenever, we need to get everybody, jumping around again and get them feeling energetic. And that's why it's called Energy Rock.
The next track is At Joe's, @Joe's.
Yeah, At Joe's was an idea that actually John had more than 20 years ago during the Amped record. He had presented that idea, and we didn't move forward on it, and he never let it go, and he brought it back up on this record. And we thought, this is like a good way to do one of our kind of funkier type of songs where we can just have fun with it, add some sounds, add a lot of group vocals, bring our friend Heartbeat back, who's been on the last 2 records singing as well, and just kind of do something fun. And Joe was actually a neighbor of John's, so it's actually a true story, who was a crack house that in DC near John's house, and yeah, he wrote At Joe's.
Alrighty, it's all happening at the crack house.
Yeah.
The next track's also kind of another funny title. I'm gonna have you help me out with it.
Okay, the next track is Black Cloud.
That's it. Okay, so that's what I was like wondering what these V's were. It's okay, I get it now.
Right.
Black Cloud.
Right. It's called Black Cloud. That was another one of my thrash songs that I presented to the band, and they could listen to everything, and that was another one that the rest of the guys thought was a good song. And John would call me Black Cloud every now and then because I would kind of say things like, oh, they only sold 100 tickets tonight, it's gonna suck. And he's like, stop being a black cloud, you never know how it's gonna be until it happens. So like, that's where that kind of term came up for the band. We used to just say Black Cloud, don't Black Cloud. And, that's how we come up with song titles. When it's part of our lives, we just kind of go with it. And, I guess my negativity formed the basis of Black Cloud, but I really have to say, I feel more positive than ever these days.
There you go. Everybody is somebody's Black Cloud. I'm sure I'm at least 2 people's Black Cloud. Anyway, my producer who's editing this is laughing right now as he's watching this. Bar Down is the 10th track on the album.
Yeah, Bar Down is another one of the experimental tracks, and kind of a very personal feeling song with John not even singing. He's brought himself down actually very low, and it's more almost talking, let alone rapping. And we tried something really different with the song, and it was a risk, but we've been playing it live, and people have been really liking it, coming up to us after the show. What was that mellow song? We really love it. We just shot a video for it, so it's the next video that's coming out in 2 weeks.
We'll be looking out for it. Man's Best Friend on the dog theme. There's always 1 or 2. Man's Best Friend is next.
So yeah, that was definitely, like, even though we're called Dog Eat Dog, everything doesn't have to be about dogs, but we are all fans of dogs. We're fans of animals. We just wanted to make a song that was a double meaning. So as we say, I love my dogs, not only about loving dogs literally, but it's about supporting each other as a band. I love my friends. I love my bandmates. I love my dogs as your crew, your group of friends. And so that's really important to us. Friendship, and not only in our band, but the friends outside of our band that keep us going and supporting us. That's super important for everybody. So not only do we love real dogs, we love our human dogs, that we call them. So that song is really just for fun. It's a light song, and we made a cool video for it where we asked all our fans to send in videos of their dogs. So in the video, it's actually like almost all of it is supplied by the fans, and it was cool that everybody got a kick out of it, and seeing their dog in our video like put a smile on a lot of people's faces. So I'm really glad we did it that way.
Amazing stuff. Pets are better than people, and as I always like to say, all my dogs stay real. We ride for y'all. The next track is E1-on-1.
Everyone on one.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. So E1-on-1, simplified way of basically saying everybody's on one, you're on something. Everybody's on something. And if you don't believe it, are you on coffee or cigarettes? You're still on something. You know, are you taking pills of any type? You're still on something. So that was just John's catchy idea and lyrics. And, you know, it's definitely one of the more like punk songs on the record. It has like, I always felt like as we were writing it, like, yeah, this is almost musically like something like, you know, like even Circle Jerks could do or something like that. Like it musically, it sounds a lot like some of the more modern punk stuff going on. So it was a cool song, and I'm really I'm just proud that we were able to kind of try something totally different in this punk style. I don't know what to call it, with like the chanting. So I think of it as almost like the bro hymn, you know, of the Doggy Dog record.
Yes, the East Coast bro hymn. I just saw
Yeah,
Pennywise also at that festival, and
yeah,
I literally
that
watched them do bro hymn.
yeah. So that part, that's kind of influenced by that kind of stuff.
Fun stuff. There we go. Looking Back is the next to last track.
Yeah, looking back, just a little. That one is really just a song about, exactly as it says, just kind of John reminiscing about the way things used to be and the way things are now, and like everybody can relate to that. You know, as you get older, you start thinking about the past a lot. You start thinking about, you know, did I do the right thing? Did I do the wrong thing? How did that affect my life up until now? And yeah, so sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But like, you know, the older you get, you got your memories, and you know, and that's what the song's about.
Word up. And then for the last track, the word that used to make me laugh uncontrollably as a child, Zamboni.
Zamboni. Now that's the track. John actually drives a Zamboni in the winter. He's a hockey player, a hockey coach, and he works at the rink, and he actually drives the Zamboni around. And you know, when he kind of came up with that idea and Roger came up with the music, that was the song where I was like, there's no way this is going on the record. It's just no way. Doesn't sound like Dog Eat Dog. It's totally like not our style. And I actually said, like, this is a song that I would cut off the record. One thing we say in this band is, hey, if you don't like something, figure out a solution to make it better. Don't just say, I don't like something, and that's it, because you're not offering any kind of solution. So the idea of adding a female vocal came up through my girlfriend, and she suggested a friend of ours, Rachel, who we've known forever, and she's just an incredible singer. She was in a band called This Queen, and we said, you know what? Let's try it and see what it sounds like, maybe as a duet. When she came back with that music and I heard her voice on it, the hair on my arm stood up, and I was like, wow. I mean, now the song has some depth and emotion to it, and it went from being the song I wanted to cut off to absolutely one of my top songs on the record. So I could listen to Zamboni over and over. It just makes me smile. It makes me happy. And it's a great ending, I think, to the record. It just leaves you with a good feeling.
Awesome sauce. I did not know John drove a Zamboni, but hockey
Yeah.
is definitely an entrenched thing in East Coast guys. There's no way around it. I'm sure you guys were all Devils fans or Islanders fans.
John's a Rangers fan. I wouldn't say Devils around him, but
yikes.
He's been a hockey fan forever. You can see him wearing hockey jerseys in the 90s videos and everything. Yep. He walks the walk and talks the talk. So I was happy to kind of find a solution and make sure that his song, made it to the record in the best possible.
There you go. Thanks for sharing all that with us.
Yeah. And let me show you this.
Oh, he's got the vinyl. Oh,
there's the real record.
I need it.
And there's the back cover. You can see.
It's great.
And it's real. It's hard to believe, but there it is. I got the first copy.
Oh, that's amazing. There you go. 001. Just for a couple of last things. Obviously, you've been touring a lot, and now the album's going to drop. So more touring, I'm sure, is on the way.
Yep, we have a tour planned for end of October through November. We're going, I think it's 10 countries, and we're taking 2 bands with us. Grove Street from England, who play like pretty cool thrash metal, like almost like old style thrash metal. Like I hear it and I hear Exodus and some other bands, Violence, but they have a sense of humor, and I think they're great. I have never heard them before they were announced for the tour, but since then I've been listening to them, and I can't wait to take them. The other band we're taking on tour is Kings Never Die, and they're also on our label Metalville, and they are Dan Nastasi, who was in Dog Eat Dog and Mucky Pup with me, and a couple of the Larry the Hunter, who was in Murphy's Law, and Danny from Biohazard, the drummer, and then you've got Dylan, the other singer, who was in some local bands with us. And just a good friend. So it's really like it's going to be just a great tour full of friends. I mean, especially with Kings Never Die, we're so close with them that we're brothers. So like being on a tour bus together for 3.5 weeks, I just imagine it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to translate into a great tour for the audience because they're going to get to hear great bands. Danny's going to come back up on stage and play some of the old songs with us again. And there's just going to be a lot of positive energy around the whole thing, and we feel it already. So that's definitely the name of the game on this upcoming tour is just let's have fun. And let's have the people have fun too, because everybody needs it.
Amazing. And we've reviewed Grove Street, they're killer, and of course we love Dan and Kings Never Die. We've covered them and interviewed them a lot. Just for a last thing, of course, all Boro Kings is 30 years old next year. Yikes. Yeah. But also amazing. Just any special plans? I mean, obviously when you guys tour, the big hits come out anyway, but like, is there anything extra special in the works for the 30th?
Well, we did a 25th anniversary of All Boro Kings tour in Europe, and it was extremely successful. That was 2019, and almost every show was either packed or sold out. So like the fans of All Boro Kings album are out there and they love it. It coincides with a release of a record next year. So we're still going to be promoting Free Radicals next year, but we want to kind of tie it into a 30th anniversary of All Boro Kings. So we're figuring out a way to kind of mash the two together and do Free Radicals All Boro Kings 30 anniversary tour, so we can play half of the new Kings, or at least all the main songs off it. So we're not going to ignore that All Boro Kings anniversary for sure. So maybe we can get some U.S. shows in as well. We haven't been playing that much in the U.S., but in the last couple of years, we've played more and more. So, we're trying to rebuild our fan base, at least in the East Coast for now. And, All Boro Kings is a good way to like bring people in, because everybody knows that record. You try to sell them something new, they may be skeptical. You sell them something they already know, they're coming back. So, we're going to see what we can do, but definitely going to do an All Boro Kings 30th anniversary tour. Promise you that.
Killer. I'm going to wish this into existence for the States. New Biohazard next year, possibly new Life of Agony music next year. So maybe those two bands and Doggy Dog on tour in America would be absolutely. And
it would be amazing. We just did 2 shows with Biohazard in Poland, and it was both shows sold out, 1,500 plus people each night, and playing with those guys again after 25 years when we first started playing with them felt like the old days again. Like we all felt that good energy again. So it's all of Doggy Dog's wishes that we can link up with Biohazard again and do more shows. And Life of Agony, same thing. We did about 10 shows with them in the past 2 years, and every time we play together, it goes really well. So those old Roadrunner bands, we all came up around the same time, and we have a lot of the same fans. So it makes sense that we play together as well.
Word. Common bonds never die. Dave, thank you so much for hanging out with Ghost Cult. Congratulations on Free Radicals coming out soon on Metalville Records. And just thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Thank you so much for having me. And I appreciate you very much. And looking forward to seeing you in the flesh one day, okay?